when I speak to people about mindset, and when we coach people, and when we look at those who tend to struggle, whether it's struggle with anxiety, whether it's generally struggling with inner self-confidence, whatever it might be, we always look at it from a four-pronged approach, if you like, when it comes to your mental health, because it's not just about mental health. So I think James asked the question, what is it when you dissect it? What is it that constitutes towards it? Now, there is four-pronged approach for me. And the first one is it's mental. So it's the mental health. So it's what's going on in your head, right? It's your thoughts, it's your worries, it's your chemicals that you release in your brain, which cause different emotions. So we've talked before about cortisol being our fight or flight chemical. So those who suffer from anxiety, on chronic ongoing sort of what we call trait anxiety, are releasing cortisol day in, day out. The tap is left on. They are just drip feeding cortisol, which is giving them that constant flux, that constant state of fight or flight, which usually as a human being, you would only experience in the moment of a situation that you felt at risk. So if you went up at heights, or if a big, huge, aggressive dog ran up to you, you'd experience this fight or flight. Whereas for people who have the ongoing issues, it's like the tap's left on. So the first pronged approach is you've got to look at what's going on in here and how the brain works and how it interacts with neurotransmitters, or what we call brain chemicals. What are your feel-good chemicals? What are your your anxiety-inducing chemicals? And what different things trigger those on an ongoing basis? But that's only one element to it. The second element is physical. So as well as mental, it is well known in neuroscience that your physiology affects your psychology. So how physically fit you are will affect your psychology, which is why people with mental health problems, and not in every case, but in a lot of cases, you can link it to other health issues like being obese or immobile or whatever it might be, right? So, we've got our underlying health conditions like autoimmune conditions that are causing inflammation and chronic levels of inflammation in the body. So there's your physiology is as important to look at in your life as well as the mental health. So there's two aspects. The third aspect is really important, is social. So as well as mental health and physical health, we thrive on social engagement and social interactions and social connections. We are not built to operate in isolation, right? We are built to gather in social circles and to engage and function with other Homo sapiens. It's just the way we've evolved over years. So if we operate primarily in isolation, it can affect mental health. So one of the biggest triggers in mental health in elderly people is loneliness, people who live alone. So social isolation has an effect on mental health as well, your ability, and which is why, I speak to my wife about it all the time. When mothers become new mothers for the first time and they go on paternity leave or maternity leave, and their husband are going out to work every single day and the other kids are at school, and the levels of sometimes boredom and isolation for new mothers can sometimes cause them to have a change in their mental health. Postnatal depression and stuff like that can result a lot from social isolation. So it's a third aspect that we've got to look at. And the final aspect is nutrition. So as well as being physically healthy and looking after ourselves, what we put into our body in terms of our gut health and our microbiome, don't get me on all this, right? But it absolutely directly impacts the physiology, in your brain, the chemical mix in your brain. Levels of inflammation in the body, and I can speak about this because I've got an autoimmune condition myself called Sjogren's syndrome, as I've shared. I absolutely know when my inflammation levels are high. When my inflammation levels are high, it's because I'm eating rubbish or I'm not eating what I should be. It's because I'm not exercising, and therefore then I start to suffer with mood, and I start to suffer with cognitive ability, and I start to suffer with concentration and my sleep, and everything is a knock-on effect. So in a nutshell, to answer your question, James, there's four key elements that we always work with our clients on, or anybody who comes for some one-to-one work with us, if they are struggling with levels of anxiety or with their mental health. And that is what's going on in here? How do you educate yourself to understand the brain and how the brain works and triggers certain emotions as a result of chemicals? How is your physical health right now? What are you putting in your body? And how strong are your social interactions and your social circles and connections right now?
Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.